With Day of the Dead happening this week in Mexico, and considering that I'm going to be doing something special involving the Casagrandes characters next week since a new show arrived this month, let's just say that doing this video as one of the final videos of Halloween Mania is a good decision, considering that if I did this video next week, it would be too late. And for me personally, I always do these videos way before special occasions happen or during those special occasions happen. Mainly uploading this video during holidays. I will say that it's a breath of fresh air to talk about the Casagrandes on its own, just like I did with the VIP'd episode review that I've uploaded 2.5 years ago, and that top 5 worst Casagrandes episodes that I did earlier this year. I'm just saying, there were other alternatives I would have done for today, but after the last 4 Sundays of this month, I think I've done way more than enough involving the Loud House material, and doing the Casagrandes project on a Sunday while I mostly do Loud House material is actually accurate, considering that I did Casagrandes material on Sundays as well. In this episode, while Ryan's family are being prepared for the Day of the Dead holiday, Adelaide is really sad because her frog passed away. And while getting the advice from Ryan and Sid about the Day of the Dead holiday, since that they got that advice from Rosa, Adelaide took the advice for the wrong reasons. When Ryan and Sid tell her more about what they do during Day of the Dead, she mistakes on the fact that her frog may come back. And in all honesty, considering that Adelaide is really longer and literally the same ages as Lola Loud and Lana Loud, I can honestly understand her behavior and where she's coming from, because we will probably be in her position if we were at her age again. So in order to convince Adelaide that Froggy will return during this holiday, Ryan instead goes to Pete's Pets in order to get a frog that is similar to the one that Adelaide had, and after spending a whole day with the frog, it convinces her that she can bring back anyone from the dead, especially Abraham Lincoln. Which leads to Ryan and Sid dealing with a position where they have to fake or disguise as one of those people in order to convince Adelaide that they come back from the dead. You know, thinking about how Rosa really missed her father so much, and the fact that she is just making this Day of the Dead holiday her own way that is done correctly, mainly seeing her father coming back, but not in the way of what Ryan and Sid are doing with Adelaide, is really saying something that Rosa is taking this holiday as one of her personal favorites, while Adelaide is taking this holiday as one of the most realistic but mainly most misunderstanding ways imaginable. But this is Adelaide, and I've always discussed that she is the same age as Lola Loud. Let's be real, Carlos wearing an Abraham Lincoln disguise is one thing, considering it's somewhat convincing, but when it came to Sid and Ryan's disguise, it's really obvious that this plan wasn't going to work out, but not that badly executed as we've seen from the many times that the characters have done this. And considering that this is in front of a really youthful girl, it's really saying something. I'm sure that people may have dressed that this episode, mainly the structure of the episode, would have been better off for a Halloween episode, considering that the Curse of the Goblin episode that I've talked about last year, while I'm comparing it to Croaked from the Loud House, would have been a better execution. But considering that I've witnessed that this has nothing to do with Halloween related, and since that this is mostly focusing on Mexican culture when it comes to the Day of the Dead holiday, I can totally understand why they decided to make the Halloween episode That way, even though it could have been much more better if it took a different direction, if it wasn't going to take the Day of the Dead direction. And the reason why I think about the possibilities involving Day of the Dead from this episode is mainly the fact that this is one of the first episodes involving the Casagrandes, since that this episode aired on the month where the Casagrandes premiered. And trust me when I say this, the episodes involving one of the ones that were premiered during that month were really good. And the fact that we only get this episode involving Day of the Dead and not a 22-minute episode involving Day of the Dead is really disappointing. Believe me when I say this. If there was another episode involving the Loud House that I would compare involving the elements from this, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't even work, considering that even though that the Loud family may have development when it comes to their bond, it's not as powerful in comparison to the Casagrandes, and this episode is a perfect example of that. At times, it may be over-exaggerating to think that the Casagrandes can do no wrong, but the thing is, whenever I look at these episodes, they're literally the same formula as in the earlier seasons involving the Loud House, and in the later seasons of the Loud House, it just makes those early episodes difficult to go through. And I understand that if the Casagrandes ever got renewed for more seasons, it will probably suffer the same path as the Loud House. But considering that the structure and the development of the characters, despite being similar to the Loud House, aren't as hateable as the Loud House characters, and not having negative lights on them, it's really saying something that they could have done a lot more while doing another episode involving Day of the Dead in the 4th season. And believe me when I say this, is that the moment where Rosa tries to cheer Adelaide up after Adelaide saw that Ryan, Sid, and Carlos were only in disguises in order to make her feel better, it's just a shame that these characters go a little overboard with the personas as the series progressed. And even though that there may be a few negative lights on the characters a few times or several, but not much, it doesn't make me convinced that these characters are badly written. They're just really flanger-wise that go a little overboard at times. There's a running gag in this episode where, after getting advice from Rosa about giving a path to the ancestors, Carl gave a path throughout the entire episode up until the end where he ended up in Royal Woods in front of the Loud family's house. In all honesty, thinking about this and the fact that this was in the same month as the Casagrandes premiered, it's actually clever considering that we actually see the point of view of the Casagrandes and not the point of view of the Loud family. So, even though this isn't technically Halloween related, it doesn't change the fact that this episode really had a great influence and great positivity involving the Casagrandes. And if I really did compare it to a Loud House episode, let's be real, the Casagrandes would win. And to be perfectly honest, doing just a solo review instead of doing another Loud House vs. Casagrandes video is a better choice, because even though I still enjoy those videos, they were still difficult to make most of the time. So in all honesty, it's better if I just do this video right away rather than just doing it next year, which for me personally, sometimes next year wouldn't even happen when it comes to other plans getting in the way. I'm giving this episode a 9.75 out of 10. And what I said earlier about doing something special involving the Casagrandes characters for next week's Loud House video, I'm just letting you know right now that you pretty much knew what I'm gonna be doing, judging of how Disney had released a new show this month, and it gave me inspiration ahead of time before the first episode came out. Yeah, I'm going there.